Hey everyone, Nick Savari here. So I wanted to put together a first-time homebuyer program just because I get so many questions. The process is overwhelming at times. So I want people to know what to expect with the process and just help them out any way I can. For all intents and purposes, this little guy will be me. He has a little more hair than me, but it's as close as I can get. So again, I'm Nick Savari. I've been a real estate agent since 2016. The landscape was much different back then. It was more of a buyer's market, and we had a little more negotiating power as buyers. It's been a seller's market for pretty much 2019 on. So you've had a change and adapt on how we get offers accepted. But I got top producer of the year in my first brokerage, got executive club in Remax, and now I'm with EXP, which I really love. And I just really love helping first-time home buyers. Before you quickly jump into buying a house because you're sick of your lack of space, or you're tired of your landlord or your family members and just want more freedom, I would be more strategic with one of the biggest purchases of your life. I can't remember the percentage, but a lot of millennials buy a house because of their dog. And I may or may not be guilty of that. Now, it did work out for me. I'm renting out my house and it is cash flowing really well, but it could have gone pretty bad. So I consider these two things here. How long do you plan on staying in the house, and what is your exit strategy? So numbers show that if you don't plan on staying in the house for 3+ years, it is hard to make up for the closing costs of about 2 to 3% of the purchase price and the down payment, which is usually 3 to 5% of the purchase price. And then if you sell within 3 years, usually you're using a realtor to sell it, and that's another 6% on top of that. Home prices have been going up in the Twin Cities for the most part, but it is hard to make up all that within that first 3 years. Now, there is an exception. If you live in it and kind of fix it up and update it while you live in it, then you can make a profit, but it's not typical if you don't do like a lot of work. So I'd consider like what is your relocation probability and how often do you plan on traveling and stuff like that. And if it's over 3+ years, I would consider buying. So the second thing is, what is your exit strategy? Are you planning on turning it into a rental and generating cash flow and using it as a retirement source? Do you want to live and fix it and sell it for a profit, or use that equity to buy another bigger house down the road? Or do you just want to buy your long-term house right away? Thinking of those exit strategies, you'll probably be looking for different characteristics in a house. So it's good to really think those through. And then again, if you do plan on staying in the house for 3+ years, I do believe it is a good idea to buy a house. It is said that homeowners have a net worth 40 times higher than renters. So that's a lot. That's a huge deficit right there. So I would buy if you can. You know, we currently have a 6.5 million house deficit. They just haven't been building enough houses since 2012. And so that gap is getting wider and wider. So I think once interest rates do drop again, it's going to be super competitive. A lot of buyers are going to be not on sidelining anymore. They'll be jumping in the game. And then they'll be competing with sellers who have a lot of equity in their house who want to downsize or upsize. And first-time home buyers are going to have a hard time with that. So I would buy now, even though interest rates are kind of high, and then refinance later. It's a lot easier to refi with $2,000, $2,500 than it is to compete with these sellers with all this equity. A couple other reasons that I am pro buying a house most of the time, and not a lot of people think about, is let's say you have $10,000 and you throw that in the stock market and you get a 7% return. You're going to make $700 for that year. Now, let's say you take that $10,000 and you use it as a down payment to buy a house at 3.5% down payment. You can buy a $285,000 house. And then that house will go up $11,000 the first year, rather than that $700 if you threw it in the market. That's if the market goes up 4%, which is pretty conservative this day and age. And then the second thing is rent goes up by 3% year over year in the Twin Cities, and you can't control that. You're just going to have to keep paying more and more over time. While if you get a mortgage, it pretty much like solidifies your payment over the long term, except for property taxes, which changes it a little bit, but not much. The next step in the process is to meet with a loan officer, and they will help you get pre-approved. Things they'll need from you are your last 2 W-2s or 1099s, last 2 tax returns, your last 2 pay stubs, and your last 2 months of checking and savings info. And then they'll take a look at your credit history. It will drop your score from 0 to 5 points, but then you have 45 days to shop around for other loan officers without any additional credit hit. So once you see a house that you're kind of interested in, you can send it to all the loan officers, and then they can work on what's called a loan estimate. So this will show your interest rate, your APR, and all other fees and costs if you bought that house, and then you can compare those costs and fees with the other loan officers. One thing to keep in mind is the numbers are important, but the availability and prompt communication is also critically important. All right, this next step is extremely important to do before you start looking at properties, and that is to get on the same page as your significant other, or just be very clear as to what you want in a house. Things to think about are what skills you have and what do-it-yourself projects you are comfortable in tackling, what skills people close to you have that could do things for free or cheap. When you are buying the existing house, you're only going to get 70 to 80% of all the things you want in the house, so you're going to have to compromise some. It is up to you to update the remaining percentage or just be happy with not having everything you want. Now, if you want closer to 100% of your wants, budget willing, I'd consider a new build. One big thing to consider is, do you have or want kids, or just want your house to go up in value faster? And if so, I'd pick a good school district. Another thing to consider is how far do you commute to your job, or any hobbies you have, or where are your friends and family located? The last big thing I'd consider is, what is the crime rate of the area? You can do a quick Google search, or you can go on Spot Crime, which is a good site with crime data. Okay, now is the fun part of actually viewing the properties in person. You have a list of your wants and needs, and you're on the same page as your significant other. You're pre-approved. You've been looking at houses online. You know what a good value is approximately. So now's the time to go view properties in person. Pictures don't do it justice. I've had many clients that love the pictures and say, oh, I want to put an offer in right now without seeing it. And I'm like, no, let's hold off. Let's go see it. We go see it, and it's not what they expected, and they don't end up putting an offer. So it's really important to go see the neighborhood, see the area, and just see the house. Like, there's going to be something wrong with most houses, and are you willing to put up with it or update it depending on your skill set and your network? So now is the time to work on your purchase agreement once you find that house that you want. And your realtor will help you put together the best offer for your unique situation. Not everyone has 20% to put down. Not everyone can pay you with cash. Not everyone is flexible with their closings. And there's other things that you can do to set yourself up for success, depending on, are there other offers that the seller has? What's the current market conditions? Is it a buyer's market, seller's market? But you can work with your realtor on those to better set yourself up for success. The next step of the process is to perform the inspection, as long as you put in the contract that it is contingent upon the inspection. So the inspector will go through the property. Usually it'll take around 4 hours depending on the size of the house. And usually the cost to you would be around $350 to $500 for them to perform their duties of testing outlets, testing the insulation, testing the appliances, looking for water damage, anything else that they can find without being intrusive and like ripping up the carpet or moving furniture, things like that. So they'll go around, and then we'll usually meet them within the last 30 minutes or an hour of his scheduled time. And then he'll walk us through the property and just present all the findings that he has. He'll take pictures, put it in a nice PDF report, and then send it to us either later that day or the next day. And then we can determine what we want to ask the seller to update, if anything. Sometimes there will be some safety issues that you don't want to deal with, or there's just some bigger issues that you just don't want to tackle. And whether you're willing to let the deal die or not also depends on what we want to negotiate. Now, words of caution, I wouldn't ask for like all 15 things that are on the inspection report. If you overburden the seller with everything you want done, even all the little things, then a lot of times they'll say no to everything. So you want to pick your battles, see what you're comfortable with, and then like updating yourself, and then what you want to negotiate with the seller. Now that the inspection is done and handled, the next big thing is doing the appraisal. So the loan officer will order an appraisal, and the appraiser will look at comps in the area and try to determine what the house is worth. Now, if the appraisal comes back higher than the purchase price, then you just got instant equity. You don't have to let the seller know. All you have to do is say that we're good. Now, if the appraisal comes back lower than the purchase price, then either it's going to kill the deal, or you're going to have to negotiate with the seller or pay the difference between the purchase price and the appraised amount. The bank is not going to lend more than what they think it's worth, so that's when things get a little more tricky. Okay, now what not to do at this point. You're on your way to closing, things are going really well, you got everything planned out. Don't be buying a new car right now or co-signing for someone else. Don't be opening up lines of credit or racking up some credit card bills. Wait to buy the furniture until after you've closed, and then put things in the Amazon cart, but just don't buy everything right now. Just wait. Congratulations, you guys are now homeowners. You guys made it through the whole process, the emotional roller coaster and everything that comes with it. But now hopefully you're just super excited that you got in. Yes, you did sign your name and date about 50 times, and your hand hurts. Your back probably hurts from moving, and you worked on your negotiation skills, though, to get your friends over there to help you move for pizza and beer. But now's the time I would get organized and just make sure you have everything in one place. I like OneNote, and using that to get all my house things in order and saved. I have my inspection report there. And then I have a reminder every 3 months to change my air filters. I have a reminder to turn off my spigot in the winter. Yes, you can just wait until it's cold out and just remember to do it, but you just don't want to forget certain things like that. Now, if you do tune-ups every year for your furnace and AC, which is a good thing to do, it extends the life of the appliances. That's another thing you can put in there. But I'll just make sure, however you stay organized, set reminders, set whatever you want up, but make sure you do review it from time to time. Thanks for watching, and I'm hoping that this training was beneficial for you. Hope you got the process down a little bit more and you know what to expect with it. I will do a deeper dive in some other topics, so I'd be on the lookout for submitting your best offer, closing costs, breakdowns, down payment assistance programs that are out there, figuring out what is right for you, a pre-approval deep dive, and understanding the main real estate forms.